Hey, good morning to you, Noah. How are you? And please give a short introduction about yourself to the listener.
I'm well. My name is Noah. I'm 19 years old, and I started stocks trading in the stocks campus in the real world about September of last year, back when it was still Hustlers University. And in the last 3 months alone, I've nearly doubled my initial investment.
Okay, very nice. So, Stocks Campus, what made you choose to go into it?
Yeah, so when I originally started, before I joined, I looked into, income streams, secondary income streams. And I initially looked at Amazon FBA, but I didn't have the time for that. I was in school, in college, and I had a part-time job as well. So um, going through the real world, I found stocks to be, I had a bit of cash from my job, which paid well, and less time. So stocks fit me very well. And I joined and started learning, and I fit in very well with the community there. And I'm enjoying it.
Mhm. Okay, so in order to almost double your initial investment, did you have to take high risks or do they teach like medium risk or low risk strategies to get that kind of return?
No, it's all very low risk, provided you put in the work and you take the time to learn. You certainly risk management is obviously very important and the cornerstone of any good trader and any good system. Without it, you're gonna blow your account. And yeah, they teach obviously low risk and very careful money management.
Good, okay. And anything in particular that comes to mind in terms of the lessons taught there?
There's a whole course on mindset and psychology, and emotional control is one of the keys in any good trader. And without that, you won't be able to manage risk. If you don't have control over your emotions and you don't have discipline, it's gonna be a rough time for you. In addition, they also teach all the math of probabilities and you know how to match your risk to your win rate and stuff like that. A little bit more technical side of things.
Interesting. Okay. So, why do, let's say, a question the listener might be thinking, why don't big corporations use this strategy to just make a lot of money? Because if in 3 months you're almost doubling your initial investment and that's potentially replicatable, if that is the right way to use in other scenarios, then yeah, why is this not being used by bigger corporations?
Well, this gets down to a more technical side of things, and I think a lot of the big corporations they do use algorithms to manipulate the market and move it in their favor, and they certainly do make money off of it. But I think the reason they don't use individual traders is people are simply too emotional and lack the discipline. It would be very difficult without intense focus on each individual to really sort of train them up and make them all successful traders. I think one of the biggest things about the real world that's super beneficial is the ability to just, you can go right to a professor, right to a captain, ask them a direct question and they'll answer you and they'll give you all the way down to one-on-one coaching with a professor if you really need it.
Hmm. Okay, interesting. I was also thinking it was a bit of a trick question because I'm thinking it's probably a matter of the amount of capital bigger corporations have. It's just not feasible to probably use a similar strategy to what you're using, just because of it probably moves markets with those amounts of money that they're trading with. So it's obviously a different kind of strategy there as well. Would I be right in saying so?
Yeah, you're correct in saying that. And typically, when you get up, I mean, the amount of capital those corporations have is obviously ridiculous. And
Mhm.
when you use the higher capital, your risk is gonna get lower and lower with it. So, but yeah, they also, I mean, they are the market movers. So.
Okay, so moving on to you as an individual. How has your life changed since joining the real world?
Yeah, it gives a great network of people, and you certainly get to meet other people on the same path. And I think that having others there, not just to sort of hold you accountable, but also to share your experiences and goals with, is a good thing. You sort of hold yourself accountable as well. In addition, I mean, I've gotten my fitness on point. Money's getting better. I've never really struggled with social skills, but there's a whole course on, better business talk, I suppose, and stuff like that
Mhm.
inside the business mastery campus.
Right. And a bit more specifically on how has your average day changed? So how is it now compared to before you joined the real world?
Yeah, I've started a routine. I now wake up around 4 in the morning each day, hit a workout, eat a bit, and then it's right to the screens, look at charts before market open. And then obviously,
Hmm.
I go to work. I trade a bit while I'm at work. My system is pretty specific, so I don't need to spend a lot of time, yeah, during the day staring at charts. So yeah, then I come home and reflect on my day in the markets, what I did well, what I did wrong, perhaps, and journal. Weekends are spent doing chart analysis, looking for some longer term plays, stuff like that.
Yeah. Why did you choose to wake up at 4 a.m.?
Yeah, that's a interesting one. I found that if I wake up when I used to, sort of mid morning, I'd say like 7:30, 8 o'clock, I just it was less productive. I was slower to start, so I made the choice to go to bed a bit earlier, and I get about a minimum 6 hours of sleep, and then I wake up at 4 a.m. and I don't know, I feel more productive. My whole day feels better.
Right. Because while everyone else is sleeping, you're working, getting ahead of them, and then it just snowballs throughout the rest of the day. Completely makes sense.
Absolutely. And it feels great to know that you're awake before the rest of the world, being productive.
Right. And it's so quiet as well, and
Yeah,
you can just purely focus on the work you have ahead of you, in front of you. Good.
100%.
And is there any more to add on how different your day was before you joined the real world?
Yeah, I was never really a degenerate person, you know. I never partied, I never really drank. I was never, certainly no drugs or anything. But for me, growing up in the Midwestern United States, I had hobbies that were not necessarily unbeneficial, but they didn't produce money, right? So I'm, an outdoorsman, hunting, fishing, stuff like that. It's not necessarily unhealthy, but it doesn't net you any real benefit. I mean, I guess exercise, but so I think that made the transition over into making all of my hobbies focused around making money, being productive, working out. I think it made that a little more difficult, but for different ways. It wasn't like an addiction I had to stop or anything. But
Hmm.
I did give up. I did used to play video games. I mean, a year or two ago, but I mean, that's totally gone. That's just a waste. I feel guilt now if I'm not doing anything productive, and I think that's a good thing.
Right, for sure. I mean, I think maybe it's an intrinsic desire in a lot of people to actually want to do something productive, but then with the amount of distractions that are out there, it just completely diminishes that urge. And
Oh,
maybe they still feel guilt about it, but again, that those distractions just stack on and you start ignoring it, or maybe you start coping with alcohol or drugs, and then negative downward spiral from there.
100%. And yeah, the state I'm in, there's a fair few people that have alcohol problems, and yeah, I could never see myself going down that path, just wasting
Hmm.
time being unproductive. And yeah, it's certainly coping and easy dopamine.
Right. Okay, so where do you think your mindset comes from? Was it from, let's say, something that happened in childhood, or were you just always that way?
My father always really tried to hammer it home that productivity was a good thing, and he was a tradesman, and I mean, he worked very hard. Retired now, of course, but
Mm.
um, he really hammered it home that you need to be productive. And I did a lot of job site things with him when I was younger, and that's a lot of physical labor. So to me, any work that is not intense manual labor is easy, and I think that's good. I think it teaches you the value of money and how difficult it can be to earn money, but also then coming over here and seeing all the ways to make money, it certainly teaches you how easy it is too. And there's a real split in the minds of people who don't understand how easy it can be. Other
Hmm.
than that, I was always interested in psychology and philosophy, and I think I've always had a very logical approach to the world. So I think that helped a lot as well.
Okay. So a bit off topic now, but I'd like to delve a bit deeper into it. So it seems your father was a positive role model to you. So what stands out from your childhood, from lessons that your father taught you, or you think that he done well raising you?
Yeah, the productivity was key. He wasn't necessarily when I remember when I was little, he worked a lot. He was not always home super
Hmm.
often. But I knew he was working, and I went with him to the job sites. And if I didn't have anybody at home to watch me, I guess when I was really little, I'd end up there, and I always saw him working and stuff. And then when I, became a teenager, younger, you know, um, he would always really hammer it home that you got to be doing something productive. You got to be doing something productive. Uh, to make it in life, be successful, you got to be producing all the time. You waste time. That's why he was big against video games, is because, and I mean, now I
Hmm.
certainly see it as just a total waste of time, easy dopamine, not producing anything.
Okay, very interesting. Now back to the real world. How different are the lessons within the stocks campus compared to what is out there on the internet?
Yeah, it's certainly a bit more focused. It's very efficient, and I like that. I try to be a very efficient person in everything I do. And I think that's probably the biggest benefit of the real world is it's very stripped down, very cut and dry. It's incredibly efficient in what they teach you. They don't teach you extra nonsense, all sorts of random stuff to confuse you. They teach you what you need to know and how to start making money quickly and effectively. And I think that's very good. I think on the internet there's a lot of stuff that'll lead you astray and just, oh, do this, do that. It's there's too much out there almost. And I think the real world gives
Mhm.
you a very efficient, quick path. I'm not saying it's easy, but it certainly takes work, but it gives you a very efficient path.
All right. And why do you think they only charge $50 for all that value?
Yeah, it's certainly a good price. That's a good question as to why they only charge 50. It's certainly worth more than that. The network of people and just the information in there alone is worth far more than $50. But perhaps, I don't know, it could be marketing, perhaps to entice people to join, which I encourage.
It's hard to speculate, but as in the reason for it, maybe. But I mean, it would be nice to think it's just because of access. So everyone throughout the world should be able to, even in third world countries, it's harder, but it's still accessible for $50. So yeah, I'd like to think that's the reason
Oh,
for it.
100%. And I think the Tates, I think they're very honorable people. And I would agree. I think they created it with that intention of accessibility. That's not very much money at all for the amount that you get, and it is very affordable. I mean, a meal at a restaurant is 50 easy.
Mhm.
So,
All right. Okay. Now, what would you say was the biggest challenge you faced when first starting out in the stocks campus?
I struggled a bit with the emotional side of it. Perhaps if a play went red before it went green, or something like that, you got to sit there and you got to watch that, and you can't react. Becoming an emotionless trader is very difficult, and the sooner you learn, the better off you'll be. Some people it takes less time than others, but I think the from the emotional side of things, I think was the most difficult. Being disciplined, sticking right to your system, even when you know it works, it can be difficult to stick to it.
Yeah. So, because you're any kind of consecutive losses, you really start doubting yourself, right, and the system.
Oh yeah, 100%. And yeah,
Hmm.
perhaps you
Okay,
exit
fair
early
enough.
or something. And yeah,
Yeah. And now, what would you say have been the biggest insights or lessons you've learned from your time within the real world?
discipline. I think emotional control and also self accountability. I think are probably the three biggest things I've taken from there. And they all go hand in hand, and they're all absolutely essential to becoming successful.
Hmm.
I can't speak on the other campuses too much. I haven't spent much time in any of the other ones besides the business mastery and stuff, and that teaches many of the same ideas, professionalism, stuff like that. But in stocks anyway, the Tates talk about the how chess and fighting teach excellent accountability, because if you lose, you made a mistake. And with stocks, it's very similar. If you lose money and you know your system and you know that something should have worked, or you're losing more money than your system that you know that you should be, you need to be disciplined enough to take responsibility and make a change and fix it. And that for some is very difficult. They don't want to admit it. They could say, oh, the market did this, it moved this way. Um, but yeah, emotional control, like I already covered, is probably really a crux that you need. That's an obstacle for a lot of people to conquer, and then discipline, sticking to your system, and yeah, being on a routine.
Great points. Thank you. Since you brought up Tate and the chess analogy, what would you say for what kind of an impact has Tate had on you personally?
Yeah, he's had a large impact. I remember watching last summer some of his earlier interviews, and I remember thinking, like, man, this guy, he is speaking things that I have thought nearly word for word. Truly, I don't know. It was just incredible. It was a light bulb moment. It was, wow, this guy knows something. And I was like, okay, well, I agree with a lot of his takes on the outlook of the world. And I looked into it more and I'm like, this guy really knows something. And I think that he certainly teaches people how to become successful. And I think there is, as a man, I think there's really one path to success, and that is obviously money, physicality, confidence, all of that stuff. And he teaches all that. And I think that my confidence has drastically improved. Obviously, I understand the importance of getting your fitness on point, being in shape. People just respect you more. Having a routine, people know that you're serious about life and professionalism, stoicism as well. Looked into more lately. I know he's not huge on teaching that, but he certainly mentions it.
Good. That's good to hear. And since you're on this trajectory now, where do you see your life heading in, let's say, 6 months to 1 year?
Yeah, I think my growth in stocks has certainly reached a point of exponentialism. I think from here on out, over the next few months, I'm really going to see some serious gains, and I just hope to continue my journey into success. Yeah, I don't see any other path. I've said it a lot. I either I win or I learn. There's no failing. I'll continue trying over and over until I succeed. So even if something bad were to happen, which I don't see, I'll continue trying.
Good. And I feel a similar way as well. It seems the only thing that could stop me is death. And if I don't die, I'm very excited to see where I'll be in 5 years, 10 years, with
Yeah,
everything
that's
that's
good to hear,
happening.
brother. Me
So,
too.
similar with you, right? Yeah,
Yeah, same way.
good. Okay, so in terms of future, you're saying you're expecting exponential growth. So it would be good to have a catch up call, a part two at some point, maybe in 3 months or so. So let me know how everything scales, and then we'll get you on for a follow up. That would be
Yeah, that
great
sounds good.
to
I look
talk
forward
to.
to it.
And for my final question, for people who are still unsure about joining the real world, maybe they're thinking it could be a scam for the $50. What advice would you have to them?
Well, I think maybe to be a bit brash, but I think it's cope. I mean, what else are you going to spend the $50 on? Food. Plenty of people around me spend it on liquor, um, wasting your money on unproductive things, and it's certainly a fast track to succeeding in life. And I think there's plenty. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it's the largest online learning platform now. I think there's plenty of proof out there to show that it's very clearly not a scam. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you're concerned about losing $50, it shows scarcity and not abundance. So
All right. And I can't remember the quote now, but something to do with money hates scarcity, as in it doesn't go to people who have scarcity mindset. So yeah.
yep, yep.
Okay. So Noah, thank you for your time. If people want to find out more about you or contact you, where can they do so?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at nd dash stocks, and I'm on Twitter, Huracan, spelled like Lamborghini Huracan, underscore force for CE.
Okay. So I'll add those to the description of the video. Anyone interested, check that. And Noah, I look forward to that follow-up interview. And until then, I wish you all the best.
Yeah, have a good day. I appreciate it, brother.